Okay, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, ladies and gents, we got a couple of things we're going to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know today is Monday, 7/17/17. Didn't make it up, didn't make it up, did not make it up. 7/17/17. And as you will notice, I hasn't done a video in more than 3 weeks. Now, the reason why I haven't done a video in more than 3 weeks, I want you all to pay attention. Because I haven't done a video in more than 3 weeks. There's no reason, there's no rhyme, there is no cause for complaint or concern. It's just I had to do other things that was more important than doing videos. Because we were putting together the information that we're going to be delivering in the next 4 videos. There is a video that is being done. I want you to understand. People have been wondering about the lawsuit. So what I did is I used a program called Natural Reader. Natural Reader, Mr. Dave helped us to put that video together. Natural Reader is going to explain everything to you so you can understand. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get some understanding. Because it's absolutely necessary. We're doing Fruity Loops. And so what I said is I would do the intro and the video while I was taking care of some installations on the computer. So we reinstalled ZDSoft screen recorder. I'm going to turn it on just for a second. Now, it may cause some conflict with the Filmora program. Do you see that right there? Oh, the F9. Yes, the reason why I can't use the F9 is because Filmora is using F9. It's a default thing. Let's just make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. Yeah, see, it kept the current settings, and I don't want it to keep the current settings. You see that right there? It's been giving me a problem. It hasn't been allowing me to start the program. So there goes my baby. Okay, it won't let me start the program. I want to start it, but it don't want to start. It says no. I'm not too happy with that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very disappointed in that. Sorry, that's Sugar Ray Leonard. Very. Sorry, I just remember him doing that all the time, and the comedians making fun of him when he did that. So, but it's one of those things, y'all. It ain't supposed to be like that, y'all. My ZDSoft software is supposed to be working. Okay, these are all the different versions of ZDSoft I have on my computer. We're going to do this one first. We're going to install it again over itself, but we're going to install a previous version over the current version to see if I can gain some control. Plus, I like the previous version, even though the current version is, alright. I like the previous version. Whenever you see a screen like this, ladies and gentlemen, when you're installing a program, click the arrow, down arrow, and then all features will be installed on the hard drive. Click that. Sometimes, even though it looks clear, it ain't clear. Clear! Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we got some information for you. First, one of the videos is going to be talking about the next step to gaining control. That is what most of you have been waiting for. I have been holding off on giving that information because some of you have been really impatient. When we came up with the birth certificate process, we told you all that it was a process and that we were doing the Minnesota Rule 220. Let me let you all know, because most of you didn't understand. Minnesota Rule 220 was essential. Why? Because Minnesota Rule 220 was the way to go, the way to get out, the way to take care of things. Many of you did not get it. To this day, we know that many of you did not get it. Okay? We weren't trying to con anybody. We weren't trying to delay. What we were trying to do, we were trying to establish a foundation. You see, the rule is you needed to present such information to the county recorder. The county recorders were refusing, just as they were doing in Minnesota. However, what we're going to tell you is that there is a way for you to record it with your county recorder. The information we're going to be providing in a upcoming video, it will be the video for the seminar, but we're doing a seminar, one of those little mini seminars that I spoke about in New York this coming weekend, which will be the week of 7/17/2017. It will be taking place on the 21st and the 22nd. Ladies and gentlemen, we did not announce this because it wasn't supposed to be that type of thing, that type of event. I don't do the large events anymore. I do not wish to do the large events. It's not a matter of finances. It's a matter of I don't want to do it. Okay? I'd like these smaller groups. I like speaking to the smaller groups of people. That's my choice. Well, why don't you tell us? Because us gets on my nerves. Sorry, ain't no better way to say it. Us gets on my nerves. Whether it be toys, whether it be art, whatever it is, us, including just, gets on my nerves. Just us. So please stop being so selfish. I don't have to tell you everything. You are not my boss. You're not my God. You're not my leader. I don't have to confer with you before I make a decision. And that's been the problem. I have so many people acting as if they know me to be able to control me. I don't like being controlled. I had family members who tried to control me, who thought that they could control me. I have people who think they can control me by money, by gifts, by offers. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't be bought. The information that I'm about to reveal, had the system compensated me and took care of all the wrongs they did to me, then I wouldn't be revealing this information to you. I would not have gone this far. But I'll tell you what I did. I asked my God. I said, can you take care of it? And he said, no. I said, but you're my God. You're supposed to take care of that, Jay. Sorry, Jehovah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, he said no. Paul says, I asked the Lord 3 times to remove this. And he said, no, my undeserved kindness is sufficient for you. I was given the same information. So I said, well, will you please continue to help me to unravel this system, to understand this system, to figure it out? It was a puzzle, ladies and gentlemen. I needed to figure it out. I told you my thing is figuring out puzzles. Well, it's been figured out. I only had one piece that I was missing. One piece, and I'm about to share that with you. One piece, ladies and gentlemen. I was only missing one piece. So let's start from the beginning, and then I'll show you how the pieces come together, and then I'll give you that piece that I was missing so that all of you can sit up here and take off. I want you to keep in mind that just this past week, last week, the week of the 10th of July, a lot of people were using the Federal Reserve Federal Bank's routing number and their account number on the back of their Social Security card to pay off their debts. As a matter of fact, they did a run on the Federal Reserve. So much so that it crashed a lot of systems, including the fact that the Federal Reserve finally put out a memorandum and the Treasury that they were not going to allow access to certain accounts anymore. Interesting, ain't it? That they want to block your access to your funds. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you why they can do that by giving you the history. And now you know the rest of the story. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull up the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful lawsuit, because there's some information in the lawsuit. Sorry, I got to wait for this to pull up. It's ZDSoft. Let's do... Uh-oh, can't do that either. Let's do that. Uh-oh. I'm not looking for this. That's what I'm looking for. When that sound comes on, that means that that window wants to pop up. And I need that window to pop up. What we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, And I know that this is going to interfere. I know for a fact that it's going to interfere with the recording because I'm doing so many things in the background. As you see, I'm loading up 2 different softwares. Fruity Loops 2012. What is it? Executive Edition? Producer Edition? This thing has taken more than 15 minutes to install. So that lets you know how heavy of a program it is. Look, Mommy, it's a choo-choo train. Uh-oh, choo-choo train gone, Mommy. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's go with the story. We're going to let Microsoft Word pull up. But we got to let you know what happened. I was explaining this to some people over the telephone just this past weekend. We have a small group that we're working on with our pilot program with mortgages. We'll talk about that in the next video. A pilot program that we're doing with Satcom that will change the way mortgages are done and the way foreclosures are handled permanently. I guarantee you that the next 3 videos that I do will change the system entirely. Now, you go ahead and think about it. Has anyone else affected more change than this man with the system? The only ones who've affected more change are the people who came up with the A4V process. Okay? They've affected more change than I have. And I concede because I wasn't there. Okay? No, don't want that one, don't want that one. Where's my defrauded homeowners of America? No, let's do that. I want this. I want the recovered files because I need those. But then I'll open up the defrauded homeowners of America. I need that section right here. Where you at? Come on now. Don't stop. You better respond to me. I don't know who you think you are. Don't sit up there and not respond to me when I'm talking. I run this show. I paid the house notes. I paid for that car you driving yourself around in and all your girlfriends are your so-called girlfriends in. She's got papers. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me pull up the lawsuit so you can see where we're going, and then I can explain the story because I can't explain. And now you have the rest of the story until we have that. Where is my defrauded homeowners of America? Oh, there you go. Whew. Whew. Thought I lost it. Thought I wasn't. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the story is this. You hear about the Trading with the Enemies Act, which is basically Title 12, 95, Section 95. So you hear about the Trading with the Enemies Act, which is the Act of October 17. No, October 6, 1919. Signed in 1919, 1917, 1917, October 6, 1917. It's hard to remember all of this stuff all of the time. But anyway, the Act of October 6, 1917, that act is called the Trading with the Enemies Act. You all have heard about that act. It has nothing to do with any of this. Ladies and gentlemen, it has nothing to do with any of this. It has everything to do with the minors. You don't want to be a minor. This is a lawsuit, ladies and gentlemen. And I was listening to it on Natural Reader. Whew. And if I can tell you how impressed I am with the way this thing is done. Okay? We're not interested in this stuff right here. Okay, I promise you, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested when we come to yellow. Old yeller. Yeah, yeller, not yellow, yeller. Yeller! Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hold on. We're almost there. Here we go to yeller. Now, while I leave this up on the screen, you all can take a look at it and you can push ahead. That's called presumptuousness. And you can be presumptuous and read ahead of everyone else. And you'll find yourself lost. Let's get to the story. We had the Trading with the Enemies Act. That act was introduced right after World War I. Okay, right after World War I ended in 1918. Technically, it started in 1914. It ended in 1917. Don't let anybody tell you anything other than that. But however, Trading with the Enemies Act was introduced during World War I. Right after World War I, we had what was known as the Spanish influenza. It turns out that someone decided to infect the military. And the military brought the flu back from the different countries back to their country and spread that flu all over the world. A test What do you mean a test? Well, the same thing they're doing now. They're doing the same thing now that they were doing then. That was a test preparing for what they're getting ready to do now. Again, they've been planning things for decades. Okay? Everything that they're about to do, they have been planning for decades, actually centuries. It's not a fluke. They've had a plan and they've been working out their plan. Can't go into detail because I've already done the videos on it, and every time I try to put the videos up about this, it doesn't populate. So I don't want to run into that problem again, speaking to you guys for almost an hour today, and then it don't populate. So I can't go into detail about that. Okay? Because I was told not to, and I keep trying to tell you all, and I can't tell you because he told me not to tell nobody. So I can't disobey him either. Who's him? Jehovah. All right, let's go on. Ladies and gentlemen, right after World War One, they introduced the Spanish influenza, bird flu, to all the nations, and it spread like gangrene. 22 million people estimated to have died. Only about 11 million people died in World War One. 22 million people died within a 1-year period, 1919 to 1920. A bird flu, 22 million. Okay, it's called the Spanish influenza. Go look it up. When the Spanish influenza was over, and everybody thought that that was the end of the world, they thought that was payment for having fought in that stupid war, World War One. We have what was known as the Roaring Twenties. You guys know about the Roaring Twenties, where everything was booming, everybody was partying, everybody was going to clubs, everything was going great, like the 1990s. You guys know about the 1990s, where the dot-com era, where all the finances were going great. And then the early 2000s, everybody's investing in mortgages and everything is going great. And then what happened? The banks say, oh no, you got to pay us. Well, that's what happened in the 1920s, roughly about 1926, 1927. The banks were saying, look here, governments, we collecting. Y'all paying. Y'all just don't realize it. They said, we ain't paying y'all. They said, you ain't paying us. They said, you better believe it, mother. We ain't paying y'all. Well, the bank said, all right then, mother. All right, I got you. No, it's okay. You said you ain't paying us. All right. Y'all, mother. And so the bank said, hey, Wilbur, Marshall, come on over here, Wilhelmina. Y'all know that money we be producing over there at them Federal Reserve banks? Them dollar bills, that world default currency thing? I want you to stop producing them, and now I want you to get them out of the system. Take as many of them out of the system as you possibly can. Just take them, stack them, store them, and box them. And so they pulled legal tender out of the system. They held on to it. The banks weren't distributing them anymore. They weren't issuing loans, and so people had no access to legal tender. Uh-oh. When people have no access to legal tender, that means they can't buy. Well, so they started bartering. Sorry, bartering only goes so far. You see, you can only barter when somebody is in the mood to barter with you, when you have something of value. Well, what happened is because the people they were bartering with were receiving something that wasn't of any value, and after a year, 1928 to 29, 1930 to 31, 1929 to 30, there was nothing else to barter with. People had already traded everything. The poor people had already traded everything. Ladies and gentlemen, people were boiling rocks, eating dirt. As I told the people this past weekend, we already know about the people in Africa and other lands who make what's called mud pies, where they literally bake dirt. There are no nutrients in dirt for humans. There's nutrients in dirt for certain insects, certain animals, but not for humans. And so families would bake mud pies in Africa just so the children would feel full, as if they ate something. Yeah, I know. Something you would never do. Well, you would never do it until you were in that situation, because I'm certain that those people in Africa would never have done such a thing. But desperate times calls for desperate measures. You've heard the saying. Well, people were boiling in the 1930s, early 30s, the late 20s. They were boiling rubber. They weren't eating the rubber, okay? What they were doing, they were boiling it to add flavor to the water because they were making soup but had nothing to put in the soup. So that's why you hear me say things like they were boiling rocks. They were trying to make soup. No nutrients in it, but they were trying to make themselves feel as if they ate something. A lot of people died during the so-called Great Depression. It was great because it affected the whole world. The banks did this purposely to the whole world. So, many of you have heard of HJR 192. Ladies and gentlemen, when you do yourself a favor, go look up this act. The act of March 9th through 12th. It wasn't just the 9th. It was act of March 9th through 12th. In that act, Congress gave the Federal Reserve banks the right to print legal tender. And it listed denominations. You guys heard me talk about this in 2012. When it gave them the right to print the bills, it said in 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s, 100s, 1000s, $10,000 bills, and it never equated a value to it. Congress never gave a value to it. So, excuse me, that's my All Saints. Young lady's calling me. She's going to have to call back. She's one of those people like you guys. And so I'm letting her know that she will be calling me back because I got other things to do. Okay? And let's see. There's another person who's sending me a text. And this person, I gotta let know doing video. Okay, so let's get back to our, and now you have the rest of the story. Butler versus Thompson. You guys remember that 1887 case? United States case. You know what? I may be getting that wrong because I do that all the time. So let's do this. Let's do open. The easiest way for me to find it. Come on now. We're here. No, we can't go there. We got to go here, and then we got to go BAILMENT. Oh, get out of here. Oh wait, I need that. Oh darn it. Well, it wasn't supposed to be showing up. I didn't ask for it to show up. It just showed up. Come on now. My screen is frozen, y'all, because of what I just did. Because of installing ZDsoft. See, that's why my screen was frozen. So let's go back to this, and it ain't letting me click on it. There we go. Well, it looked like it was, but it doesn't. Thought it wasn't. Thought it wasn't. Okay. Now, there we go. It did it again. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to let me do it. I got to get rid of that. Let's do that again. No, we can't. There we go. But we're not there yet. We got to go to this one. And then we got to go to the Belmont Bond. And then we do that. and we let it look for it. And while we're doing that, come on, Belmont Bond, hurry up. Belmont Bond letter. Okay. I have to show you the Belmont Bond because I just talked about Butler versus Thompson so that you'll understand what happened. This is the Belmont Bond. Okay. Belmont Bond. Many of you remember this. I'm looking for Butler versus Thompson. There we go. Butler versus Thompson, 1877. I said 87, it's 1877. The Supreme Court in Butler versus Thompson simply said that there is no difference between dollar bills, whether they are coin dollar bills or paper dollar bills. See, you keep thinking that a dollar bill is paper. Get that out of your head. A bill does not have to be paper. It can be a coin bill because it is a bill of exchange. So a coin dollar and a note dollar, there is no difference in the two. They are both equal in value. That's what Butler versus Thompson said. Well, Congress said the same thing because if you notice, the Supreme Court says the law knows no difference between the two because Congress had not stipulated a value, a differing value. So notice what it says here because most people haven't read this the correct way. Congressional Record, March 9, 1933, House Resolution 1491 at page 83. Under the new law, what law is that? Well, the Act of March 9, 1933 is the Emergency Economic Relief Act of 1933. Okay, the Gold Repeal Act, or what you all refer to as HJR 192, that is known as the Agricultural Act of 1933, or the Gold Repeal Act of 1933. Well, anyway, let's get back to the March 9th Emergency Economic Relief Act, which says, under the new law, what new law? The Emergency Economic Relief Act. The money is issued to the bank. Now, you see that where it says not to the people? I added that. Okay? The money is issued to the banks. Okay? In return for what? In return for government obligations. Uh-oh. The money is issued to the banks in return for government obligations. Uh-oh, I didn't want to do that. Sorry. We got to do fine next. Okay? We're going to look for something because I got to show this to you. And I'm going to leave that up there because these are things that I'm going to have to pull back up. Okay? So that's why. We don't want of. I don't care about of. What we're doing is 1901.508. Okay? Title 7, Code of Federal Regulations, subsection 1901. That's what I'm looking for. And it's only one result. That's not right. I don't want one result. Let's do another one. Let's do II. I want the one that's 1901.508 at II. And I don't think it found it. I don't think it found it. And maybe I didn't actually put it in this. Yeah. This is the one. Okay. Now, this is where the United States says that they are to take the note along with the insurance and to affix pay to the order of. And by doing the pay to the order of, the banks are to be paid at par value. Well, give me 1 second. Okay. See, 1935, United States government declared on or about 1935. We're going to have to change this. I don't want to say 33. Let's do 32. Because I say on or about. I don't want to do 1933 because I talk about 1933. But then, in the furtherance of its obligations, so let's find out about obligations in that law that we were just reading. Let's pay attention to what's going on. Remember, under the new law, the money was issued to the banks. The people had no access to the money unless they got it from the banks in return for government obligations. Well, if you look at 1901 .508 at II of Code of Federal Regulation, Title 7, you will see that it says that they're to take the note, the endorsed note, along with the insurance agreement, and they're to send it to the Treasury Finance Director at Fiscal Services. Okay? And what did the Treasury do? Did they not issue them lawful monies? What's lawful monies? You're going to see in just a second. It's all right here in front of you. We're going to talk about lawful money in just a second. Okay? Legal tender is not lawful money. Neither is treasury bills and bonds and things like that. That's not lawful money. Those are just tender. Love me tender, love me sweet. Anyway, we're going to talk about tender in the next video when we deal with the mortgages, so just pay attention. Ladies and gentlemen, when the government gave the banks the right to print money, and that's what this act did, it gave the Federal Reserve the right to print the monies, okay? Because the banks leveraged them. That's why they asked for all the gold, because the banks said, we will destroy all of your countries. We'll put you back in the Stone Age. You just had the Roaring Twenties because we allowed you to have the Roaring Twenties. That's when liquidity and money was abundant. Now we took it back, and now we'll make sure you don't survive, which is why Hitler came into office. They put him into office on purpose. The banks put Hitler into office. He was their pawn. Ponzi. He was their Ponzi. Okay? Now, the government said, okay, you got us. Well, no, you're going to pay us. You owe us. We've been loaning you money. We did it all during the 20s. We are the ones who helped you rebuild your countries after World War I. We caused World War I to deplete your finances. You borrowed from us so that you could build your war weapons. And now that the war is over, we brought about the Spanish influenza so that we could cause a blight on each one of you to let you know that you weren't in control. And then we allowed money to flow freely during the early 20s so that you guys called it the Roaring 20s. Then we took the money out of the system, and then you guys called it a depression. You ignorant mother don't understand that we control everything. You gave us control, and we want more control. So the government gave them more control. They allowed them to print the money. They had control. But notice what it says. They were allowed to print the money in exchange for government obligations. Well, what were the obligations of the government? Bills of exchange, draft, notes, trade, acceptance, and bankers' acceptances, legal tender. Government obligations were legal tender. Why? Because the money will be worth 100 cents on a dollar because it is backed by the credit. Credit? Where's Hyman, the credit monster, when you need him? Of the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, credit. That's lawful money in the United States. They took gold out of the equation with the Gold Repeal Act. All we have is credit. Now, how do we know that all we have is credit? Oh, that's easy. What do you mean that's easy? That is easy. It's simple. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is how we know how easy and how simple it is. Did you remember that I just spoke about Title 12? Well, we're going to go to Title 12, Section 411. What's Title 12, Section 411? Title 12, Section 411 says that they're to take legal tender, bring it to the Treasury window, and the Treasury will issue lawful money. Well, the banks take the legal tender because under the new law, money is issued to the banks. And the banks take the money, they bring it to the Treasury Department. Oh, and by the way, that law was amended 1933. But anyway, and the Treasury issues them credit, not gold, credit, because it was backed by the credit of the nation. Then this is what the actual law says. It will represent a mortgage on all the homes. What will represent a mortgage on all the homes? The new money, the new law, the new money, the new law, the new money, the government obligations, and other property of all the people. The money will represent a mortgage on all of the homes. Well, we already know banks can't own property. But banks own property all the time. Yes, there are some provisions that permit banks to own property, such as the buildings that they exist in. Okay? But, however, the way the banks are doing things now is because of the way the law is written. The government obligations are exactly that. Government obligations. What's a government obligation? Oh, well, when the government who owns all the land, and you'll find out the government who owns all the land, the ownership of all property is in the state, and the fact that the people have just usury ownership, I gotta find that. It's in here, but I don't know where it is. Give me 1 second. Mortgage includes real estate mortgage, deeds of trust, and other forms of security instruments, or a lien on real property. Okay? A mortgage is just a lien on a property. You're going to find that they don't even have the right, the banks. You know, I got to find that. We're going to find again. Let's see. What does that law say? OWNERSHIP. I'm looking for ownership. Not that ownership. This one right here. This is the one I'm looking for. Thank you. Find next. Microsoft. The Senate document number 43, 73rd Congress, first session, which is the same Congress. Oh, it was just above where we just were. It's the same Congress. This is the 73rd Congress. This is the 73rd Congress. The same Congress. The ownership of all property is in the state. That's why your property is listed under the county. The ownership of all property is in the state, not the U.S. government, but the state. Individual so-called ownership is by virtue of government, state government, i.e. law, statutes, amounting to mere user. You're a tenant on your own property. And use must be in accordance with the law, but subordinate to the necessities of the state, which means the state can take your property whenever they want. That is Senate document number 43, 73rd Congress, first session. H.R. 192, first session, 73rd Congress. March 9th, 1933, 73rd Congress, first session. All of this takes place at the same time, and most people don't know it. But the ownership of all property is in the state. You don't own the property. And since the government owns the property, it has an obligation to you because it took your gold. It said, give us your gold and we will give you what you need. We'll take care of your necessities. There's a difference between necessities and necessaries. Understand, the government is responsible for your necessities. Your needs, not your wants. That's necessaries. What you want is not the same as what you need. I've been saying this for years, people, and nobody's been paying attention. You can only get what you need. You can't go out and get something for you and your wife. Your wife has to get her own. You can get something for you and your family because you're responsible for the family. But if you want to get something for your wife, she has to do it. She's her own separate person. Can the two of you have two different homes in each of your names? Yes, you can, because each of you are allowed a property. How you manage that is up to you. How you get around the fact that you have to be in possession of it and have to be living in it, that's up to you. Don't do that. I'm only there 6 months out of the year. That ain't gonna work. Okay? I can't tell you how to do it. You have to figure that out. But let's get back to the understanding of things. Why we are where we are now. Okay, because the banks get to print the money, this is what you don't get. When the banks bring the mortgage, paid to the order of, when they stamp it, endorse it, paid to the order of, they bring it to the Treasury window, just like Title 12, Section 411 says of the U.S. Code. And the Treasury gives them lawful money. What's lawful money? Credit! Like Hyman the credit monster said, credit! Okay? That's lawful money. The banks receive the credit. After the banks receive the credit, what are they supposed to do? they're supposed to give you the deed entitled to the property, because that's the agreement that the government made with you with the Gold Repeal Act and with these other acts. Okay? Individual so-called ownership is only by virtue of the government, i.e. law. Well, this is the law. The government made the agreement. The ownership is supposed to revert back to you, but that's not what's been happening. Well, why hasn't that been happening? Because the people don't know. What don't the people know? The people don't know that they are considered minors. They're considered minors. So let's do this. I have to turn on my speech recognition. So we're gonna I have to say something into the computer for one moment. And so we're gonna, you know what? Let's open this form here. You know what? Can I open that form? I gotta, hey, it worked. See? It worked. It's on. It worked. 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 Okay. I'm so happy. All right. This form right here. This is the SSA 445 form. Will I be surprising any of you that several people have had several success? Several people have paid their court filing fees just by presenting this document. This is authorization as a fee for service form. Okay? You don't fill this out. You do not fill this out. This is not yours. Now, I added all this, okay? Money, estate, current, Drew. And this is the trustee in the case under this title is blah, 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 blah. This is from 11 U.S. Code 345, money of estate, current, Drew. Okay? That's the first thing. Then I added 42 U.S. Code 1494.3, authorized appropriation, collection of fees. Okay? I added that. And then I left in the paperwork reduction statement because that has the instructions on where they're to send the form and take care of it. SSA 445-7-2006. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not putting this out to the public. You have to understand how to do things like this. Okay? I have a judge telling me, and I actually put in the Gold Repeal Act. Okay? To assure the uniform value of coins and currency of the United States, whereas the holding or dealing in gold, blah, 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 the United States is said to be and declared to be against public policy. I put that in there. I have judges telling me that this is inapplicable. And I'm writing them back and saying, what the you mean it's inapplicable? Of course it's applicable. Because you are demanding payment for fees. You're a government entity. This form is for government entity. Okay? Just that simple. That's what I do. But anyway, let's get back to understanding why we're in the current state we're in and why they're treating you the way they treat you. Because that's the problem. Everybody and their grandfather thinks they know what they know, but they don't actually know what they know. Because the absence of evidence is not really the absence of evidence when there's evidence that is absent. Okay? You guys understand that, right? Hold on. Gotta unclick that. We go here. Here. Oh, come on. It did it again. It did it again. Come on. Not there. We're going to go down, 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 down. We're going to go there. And I got to stop talking for just a second. The emancipation of the infant estate. The emancipation of the infant estate. It won't let me talk. So, come on. This is the document I was looking for. So I don't have to do the voice recognition. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Look at that. They can call Social Security if they have a problem. Now, I've already put this document up in 2015 when I first came telling you guys about the infant estate. I told you that Boris, Mr. I am some dude, Boris and his group put out a document. See, now it wants to show up. Boris and his group put out a document. And in that document, ladies and gentlemen, 5 pages, it led me to this. I need you all to pay attention. Like I said, I've already done a video on this. And it is on forshare.com, by the way. The petition for emancipation of an infant must conform to applicable statutes. What statute is that? Well, Minnesota Court Rule 220 is one such statute. It's associated with Minnesota Statute 200. The 200 series is where you're going to find the Minnesota statutes regarding Minnesota Rule 220. Ladies and gentlemen, Minnesota Court Rule 220 does not apply to all of us. It applies to each of us in that we were born in several different states. So there is a process by which all of you must do your Minnesota 220 in your state. I have been debating as to whether or not we are to reveal that information to you. So we will tell you that information at the end of this video. It says the petition must state all the necessary jurisdictional requisites. In general, it must state that the minor resides in a county in which the proceeding is brought, and the minor is managing his or her own affairs. The petition may, however, be sufficient without alleging that the relief sought will be in the interest of the minor, but you always will do in the interest of the minor. It is sometimes required that the petition be sworn by some person cognizant of the facts set out in the petition, an affidavit. Filing of a sufficient petition in the jurisdiction of the court attaches. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to go to court to do this. That's the unique thing about it. Everybody's doing name changes. Now, the name change is a very great idea, but it's the wrong idea. Those of you who we've been working the process with at SATCOM, telling you that we were going to tell you how to go about doing your DBAs, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to tell you how to do your DBAs at the end of this video. Okay, so just pay attention. The process sometimes must be issued in a proceeding for the removal of disabilities of an infant, as in any other suit. Notice of publication of the filing a petition is sometimes required, but the failure to do so is generally not a jurisdictional defect. Issuance and service of process may be waived. Ladies and gentlemen, that's if you're going through the courts. We don't need to go through the courts to do this. The hearing and determination, what we are getting you to understand is that all of you are considered infants. Now, here's the important part. Generally, an infant may acquire property rights. He or she cannot be deprived thereof except as provided by law. You've been deprived of your property rights because you didn't know what was going on. You didn't know that you were an infant. Okay? An infant has no legal capacity irrevocably to abandon his or her property rights. Well, then how come they're claiming that you've abandoned your property? You don't have any capacity to irrevocably abandon your property rights. So you can't go back on it. You don't have a legal capacity. You just need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that's the point. Don't worry about the rest of the sentence. I want you to pay attention to this. An infant has no legal capacity. That's what the court is telling you. That's why you're being done the way you're being done. You're being done the way you're being done. Sorry, somebody's asking me, do I have time to talk? But I know that they're asking me if I have time to talk because they have an issue that they want to talk about. And I will give that person my time because that's what I do. That's what I do. That's what I do. That's what I do. Now, while we are doing that, somebody is sending me, there was a call this past week and somebody invited me to that call. and I asked them to send me a copy of the call because I don't listen to other people's stuff. And so the person sent me a copy of the call. But I don't listen to other people's stuff. Again, when you're doing all of this, you need to understand that you're being treated as a person who has no capacity. Status and standing is paramount. Let's continue. The infant is allowed a statutory period after attaining majority to contest any adverse possessions which commence during infancy. Ladies and gentlemen, once you take care of your age of majority status, you can go back and get back all the property that was seized from you. All of it, even if somebody else is living in it. I don't advocate that, but these are the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. Only the facts. But because you're being treated as if you were an infant made deposit, it's supposed to be may, not made. Let's get rid of that. Voice recognition. May deposit funds in bank accounts. It's supposed to be in, not and. Early voice recognition 2015. And withdraw them as if they were adults. See, they're minor accounts, infant accounts. So this is so you know, you're being treated as if you are an infant. Okay? So as an infant, you have no rights. It won't let me save it as this document. Oh, that's right, because I'm doing edit, and it doesn't like me doing an edit of the document. So let's do that. Okay, let's get back to, well, we don't need 445, the fee authorization form. All I can tell you is this one particular fellow paid his son's tuition with the fee authorization form. Will it work for you? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I can't tell you that. But we got to get back into the state of affairs as to what we're in now. What I had my team do is I had them do some research on something known as tender, explaining exactly what tender is. So now that I have my Fruity Loops 12 and Fruity Loops 11 installed on the computer, what I'm going to need is for all of you to hold on for just a brief second, if it lets me.